You're listening to the Back Home Network, presented by Home Field Apparel.
Hello, Hoosier fans, and welcome to another episode of the Grace Berger Show, a production of Assembly Call on the Back Home Network. This is our 7th of 12 episodes throughout the season, and as we give you more insight into the IU women's basketball program and to Grace Berger herself. I'm your host, Jeff Marlow, alongside Grace Berger. Tonight's episode will recap the last couple of weeks of IU women's basketball and preview upcoming games. As we record this on February 4th, we record this on February 4th, right before the rematch with Purdue on Sunday. I just want to thank Grace for taking some time to join us as the schedule is getting hectic for her with the games we have coming up, and they're going to be busy, and we're going to talk a lot about the upcoming schedule here later in the podcast. So Grace, welcome, and would you like to say anything?
No, yeah, I mean, you pretty much hit it on the head. It's been a strange past few weeks for us, for sure, with COVID and injuries and all that. And then we have a lot coming up. So I'm excited to talk about our next busy few weeks.
Yeah. And just, you guys were kind of in a unique situation. You played at Purdue, and just watching on TV, it looked like a couple of you might have been feeling, and it may have not been feeling the best anyway. And then everything kind of really unraveled from there by about, say Monday or Tuesday. Just kind of, if you can, without mentioning names, just kind of how it all unfolded and when you guys realized that, several of you were going to be out for a few days.
Yeah, I mean, obviously before that, we had a couple players that had been out with the health and safety protocols before the Purdue game. So we were making sure leading into that game that we were extra cautious, wearing the N95 mask on the bus and really trying to keep our distance from each other like we were last year. And then I think, we maybe looked a little more tired versus Purdue than usual, but I think overall we all felt fine. I mean, that was a huge win for us. But then the day after, I think some of us started not feeling so good. And so we just ended up testing everyone in the program and, obviously found some positive cases there. So a lot of us were, had to shut things down for, I think, about 7 days probably on average. But the people that obviously were healthier or had already had it were able to continue working out with the coaches and whatnot. But for the majority of us, we had to take about a week break.
And so that they talked a little bit about that on the BTN Plus broadcast last night, that the coaches had said that it was, or maybe even the players had said that it was almost like getting back to a summer workout or an off-season workout. Was that kind of true?
Yeah, I mean, in the summer, we normally do small group workouts with 3 or 4 people. So that's really pretty much what it was for that 1 week where a lot of us were, obviously in isolation. So normally during the season, we don't get as much individual work. So I think it was good and beneficial for the kids that were able to work out, just to maybe get some more one-on-one attention and really work on their skills, something that in the middle of the season you normally don't get to do.
And this was really, again, last year, you guys kind of, if I remember right, you guys didn't miss any games. You might have had a game or two canceled, but it was always from somebody else. This really kind of the first time it hit the team in the last couple of years, right?
Yeah. So last year we didn't have a single positive case in the entire program, which was amazing and something we're really proud of. And we made it a long way this year, but obviously with the new variants and stuff, it's extremely contagious right now. So I think once one person kind of got it, we kind of knew what was coming. But we're definitely glad that we got it out of the way now, as opposed to deeper in February or March.
Yeah. And just that's, hard to stay in conditioning, or at least I shouldn't say condition, but maybe lose a little bit of your conditioning while you're not able to do much. Would that be a fair assessment?
Yeah, I mean, I think, not only for the people that weren't able to do anything with COVID, but even the people that were still practicing and all that. I mean, you practicing and doing individual workouts is a lot different than a game. And so I think for a lot of us, even the people that weren't necessarily sick, just coming back to that first game last Sunday, it kind of felt like the first game of the year, like you hadn't played in forever, and just getting your legs back under you. It probably took us a couple quarters, maybe even the whole game to really, get back into game shape.
Well, one of the games that you missed was a matchup with Iowa. And just wanted to ask you real quick about because you'll play them again, at least your schedule will play them later in February. But just Caitlin Clark has been on a real roll. And it's going to kind of lead into a second kind of a question into your first game back with Michigan. But just you've watched her, you've played against her. What obviously there's some great talent in the Big Ten, including the people on your team, yourself, and the others as well. But what makes her so difficult to guard? I mean, she's putting up big numbers and triple doubles on some real quality opponents.
Yeah, I mean, she's obviously an amazing player. I think we all recognize that very early on in her freshman year. I think from playing her, my personal experience with her, what makes her so hard to guard is she has the ability to hit threes from 35 feet out on a regular basis, hit step backs from 35 feet out. Obviously, what not many girls can do. So you have to press up on her. You have to pay a lot of attention for her, which I think allows her to use her speed and size to drive past you. And then she has incredible vision for a 6-foot guard. She can find her teammates, and she's surrounded by a lot of really good players too. So she's just a phenomenal player. She's a hard matchup, 3-level scorer, and obviously can make plays for others and rebound and push the ball and all that. So, I mean, she's a complete player and definitely a special talent.
And that kind of takes us into your first game back, which was against Michigan, a very good team on the road against what I would look like to me a pretty hostile crowd with one of the best, if not the MVP in the conference. I just mentioned Caitlin Clark, but Naz Hillman's putting up some incredible numbers as well, and a tough matchup in any situation. Here you guys were coming off the COVID. What was first of all, before I ask about Naz, what was kind of the preparation you were able to get to do in order to play Michigan for that first game back?
I mean, really, we had like 5 days where we could fully prepare for them because we had no game. So that's obviously a little bit, more than the 1 to 2 day prep that we normally get for a game. So, I mean, we knew obviously Naz is the focus of our prep, doubling her and just making everything difficult for her. But she also has a lot of really good players surrounding her, obviously. So it wasn't just about one person, really. It was about, everybody having to focus on a lot of different individuals on that team. They're a really good team. They're really well coached. So we had 5 days to prepare. So I think even though we hadn't played in a while, we definitely were confident going into that game.
And you mentioned doubling, but Naz does a real nice job, just an outstanding player, but she really makes a quick, decisive move. It's hard to get there to double her, isn't it?
It is. I mean, she's a really good passer from the post. She's really good at throwing skip passes. And then obviously, like I just said, she's surrounded by great shooters, great scorers on the outside. So, she's definitely not a player that just because you double her is going to be any less effective. But I think the game plan for any team is just to make things as difficult as possible for her.
Yeah, and I think I'm going to forget the name. The other big girl I think had 14 or 15 rebounds against you guys, so she was really giving you guys problems on the glass. And that was probably the first game where I'd seen rebounding be an issue for you guys. And even with the games you played without the couple of games without Mac, you had So was Michigan that just aggressive, or was it just something that was just not clicking that night for you guys on the defensive end as far as rebounding?
I mean, I think a little bit of both. But we knew coming into the game that Michigan out rebounds people a lot. I mean, that's what, really one of the things that makes Naz so special is her ability to just kind of overpower people and get the offensive rebound after a miss. So we knew that going into the game, and obviously we didn't execute it. So, you could blame it on us not playing for 2 weeks. You could blame it on maybe us being a little out of shape. But really, at the end of the day, I think it just came down to, us getting out hustled and just not being on our A game that night for sure.
Well, and like I said, I think a lot of the fans recognize that was going to be a tough game if you had everybody had been healthy for 3 weeks. I mean, Mac was going to, would have been a big part of that as well. And not that we're taking anything away from Keandra or anybody else that's playing in Mac's spot right now, but even under the best of circumstances, that was going to be a tough game. I mean, just that to me was one of those games I've seen you guys play where, and you may feel the same way, or maybe you'll disagree, that it was like the crowd was ready for you guys. This is, you guys were undefeated in the league. Michigan wants to be the team to beat, and they had you coming into their place, and they just looked like they were ready. The crowd was ready. And so it was going to be a tough environment, even if everybody was super healthy.
Right. I mean, yeah, Michigan, obviously, one of the best teams in the Big Ten, but one of the best teams in the nation too. So, even if we had McKenzie, even if we were on our normal schedule, it would have been a tough game. And in Michigan, we beat them last year in a really close game, and we're both kind of similar in that we're fighting for that top spot in the Big Ten. So we knew that they really wanted to beat us for those reasons, and that they were going to really encourage a great crowd to come out and support them. And they had that. I mean, they were definitely, it was a hostile environment, but like I said, last time in the Purdue game, it was a similar kind of environment, but normally I don't think that really affects us because we just like playing in front of fans, whether they're for us or against us. But, obviously on a night where it just wasn't our night, maybe the fans just kind of gave Michigan the extra energy that they needed to really just, overpower us.
Yeah, I mean, and it really didn't get away from you until really kind of toward the end of the third quarter, and they made a little bit of a run there that kind of put it, got you back on your heels a little bit and such. So, and then I will ask you this: do you like snow? You've had several inches of snow over the last couple of days.
Yeah, well, we've definitely learned to like snow. This is definitely, since I've been in Bloomington, and really probably my whole life, the most snow I've seen over the past couple of days. So, Louisville doesn't snow quite as much, maybe a little bit, but not quite as much.
Yeah. So obviously you guys have been sick, and so I would imagine, but I saw some video of some of the kids on campus out doing some things that, sledding and, getting towed behind cars and things like that on the sled. So hopefully none of you guys were out quite doing that, anything quite like that. But
the Grace Berger Show is presented by Farrall Wealth. Farrall Wealth was founded by former IU All-Big Ten defensive end Greg Farrall, who is now experiencing IU all over again as a parent with two girls who are juniors in the IU Media School, interns at the Cuban Center, and own their own business. And Greg learned trust and integrity while playing for legendary coach Bill Mallory, traits he's worked hard to instill in his girls. He also learned how to game plan. Farrall Wealth uses these principles to help high net worth individuals and business owners pursue financial success. Wealth planning is their passion, so you can live yours. Their fiduciary plans include investments, insurance, taxes, executive compensation, and charitable giving in this lifetime and beyond. Like any good team, the IU women's basketball team, for example, you need to plan and work the plan. Well, what is your plan? Contact Farrall Wealth through all socials at Farrall Wealth and their website, farrallwealth.com. That's FARRALL wealth.com. Farrall Wealth is a proud supporter of IU athletics. Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisory firm, member FINRA SIPC.
So you played last night, as I said, we're recording this on Friday. You played Minnesota last night. Very few fans because the people were asked to stay off the roads. And so really kind of a few fans did show up. I saw some tweets that there were about 30 or 40 kids that went ahead and made the trek over. So not a big crowd last night, but it sounded like you had some boisterous fans there.
Yeah, we probably had, like 15 to 20 students that I guess had walked over. And really kind of gone against the rules that nobody was supposed to be there. They strongly encouraged nobody to be there. So when we ran out of the tunnel and saw them over there, I think it was definitely a pleasant surprise. I mean, when you're not playing in front of anybody, even the smallest of energy that those fans can bring is a big boost for us. So I think down the stretch, especially, it kind of gave us, the little energy that we needed to come out with a win.
Yeah, was that, I think in the first half on TV, they showed that, were they the group that was holding up chairs like during free throws? Or do you even see that?
I saw them during the game, now that you say that, doing some stuff during free throws. So I definitely vaguely remember them doing that, yes.
Okay, I didn't know if that was them or whether maybe some of your managers were over there trying to get some environment going. So Minnesota comes in, and coached by one of the Big Ten legends, and Lindsay Whalen, former WNBA player. Just tough night because, as you said, no crowd really. And Minnesota wasn't toward the top of the league, but yet they played well last night. And I thought that, just really gave you guys everything you wanted.
Yeah, I mean, we knew coming into the game that they were a lot better than their record might have shown. That they have one of the most talented starting fives really in the entire conference, just based on talent alone, especially on the offensive end. I mean, they're just a really good group. And obviously, if you watched the game last night, can really shoot the ball. So anytime you have a team that has three guards that can, shoot above 50% from the 3-point line on any given night, obviously that's dangerous. And unfortunately, we let them get some easy looks, and they made them and started, giving them some confidence. And I thought they shot and played really well last night. So, I mean, we weren't necessarily surprised. We knew that they were capable of doing that. And I think we just kind of let them get a little too confident early.
And that's kind of the danger with a team like that, isn't it? Giving them a little confidence, let them hang around. And the next thing you know, you're in a dogfight.
Right. Definitely.
And I will say this, I was not as familiar with them. I looked through some of their stats a little bit as getting ready for the game, but boy, Scalia could shoot it from deep as well.
Yeah, I mean, she came in here our freshman year and was doing that, shooting step back 35-footers like it was nothing. So, I mean, she's obviously one of those players, kind of like Caitlin Clark, that is unlike a lot of girls, and that they have that kind of range with such accuracy that you really have to respect as soon as they pass half court.
And so you guys get out of there. You scored the team scored the last 14 points of the game. You came from 4 down in the last 5 minutes to win by 10, 80-70. What was that last timeout or TV timeout like? Well, I mean, you were down 4, I think, or 3 going into that last timeout and such. So what was kind of the mentality in that huddle going into those last 4 or 5 minutes?
I mean, really, I think the message from the coaches, which isn't, unusual, and a lot of times this is what's being said in our huddle, is just focused on the defensive end, and that we just have to, really sit down, guard our man, and get stops. We had kind of been trading baskets there with them for a little bit, and obviously when they're that good of a 3-point shooting team, that's not something you really want to do. So I think we were just focused on getting stops and getting rebounds, and then hopefully pushing the pace and getting some easy shots on the other end. So our main focus was definitely defense at that point.
And you had a really good ball game last night, outstanding ball game, 19 points, 10 rebounds, and 8 assists, and near a triple-double. But that's it was, again, just another kind of game where you've talked about on here. I'll give you kind of a chance to talk about how you felt kind of maybe going into the game last night, where you just kind of do what you feel like the team needs. And at times you're scoring, at times you're rebounding, at times you're passing the ball. But did you kind of feel like last night was coming off the Michigan game where nobody played badly, but you obviously lost that game? Did you kind of feel a good vibe going into last night?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, after a loss like that, we're not a team that loses very often. We all hate to lose. We're all such competitors. So coming out after that, you really want to make it kind of a statement game, just to get back on track and start building your momentum with stacking up a couple wins, starting with the Minnesota game. So obviously, I felt really good in the game. I felt like we were ready to really bounce back after a couple of days, but they came in, they were hot, they were really good last night. So we didn't, get the blowout win, the really statement win that we wanted every time we step on the court. But at the end of the day, a win's a win. So we feel like, hopefully it'll give us some momentum going into this tough stretch ahead.
Yeah, that was kind of one of the things we were thinking about as well. Kind of, I saw on the Twitters and things like that. Not that Twitter is really the end all be all, but at the end of the day, the tournament selection really isn't going to be based on whether you blew them out by 15. They're just going to look at whether you won a game against Minnesota or you lost a game. And I think that's a really good point that you made. I don't want to say coaches were upset, but was there anything maybe the coaches emphasized at halftime? Because you were down 1 at the half, and so was there anything that they emphasized, or was it just kind of keep doing what you're doing? Obviously you're trying to tweak I shouldn't say tweak, but defensively it wants you to sit down a little bit more. But was there anything maybe they tweaked at halftime that, going out for the second half?
I mean, I think it was, again, mostly defense, just simple things that we can control. We're a team that really, uses a lot of scout defense going into the game. We really watch a lot of film and know how we're going to guard all their actions. So I think we were just losing focus a little bit, letting our guard down, and they were making us pay. So I think the emphasis at halftime going into the second half was just being maybe a little more disciplined on that end, following our game plan. And then, once we get those stops on defense, pushing the ball and getting easy offense on the other end, because obviously for a lot of the game, they were sitting in a 3-2 zone. And I think that can kind of make teams stagnant a little bit. So we were hoping to get stops and push the pace to maybe get some easy baskets.
Yeah, it was a 3-2. Was that something normal for them?
Yeah, they've played us a 3-2 in years past, and we knew that was something that they did. So we were fairly confident going into the game that that's how they were going to play us. So we expected it going into the game. It wasn't anything that shocked us, and we had prepared for it, but obviously we didn't handle ourselves the way we wanted to.
And I don't want to, you guys got really good contributions. 4 of the 5 starters were in double figures. 3 of you played 39 minutes or more, including yourself played 40. But talk a little bit. I know we've talked about several of them as well, but Alexa had a career high 28 points last night. Just maybe a little bit of what how, and I know everybody plays well, but just Lex does so many things sometimes, at least in my view, that don't show up in the score in the stat sheet. Just maybe talk a little bit about how Lex played last night, besides obviously the stat sheet.
Yeah, I mean, I think she's really stepped up for us recently. I mean, we always knew she was capable of having games like this. And I think it's been great to see just like how consistently she's been doing it the past couple games and really all Big Ten season for us. So, I mean, I think it might come as a surprise to some people, but I would think if you had asked the other coaches in the Big Ten, they're very aware of who Alexa is and what she's capable of doing night in and night out. She definitely receives a lot of attention from other teams on their scouting reports, and I think that's just going to continue. And obviously, when you have a 4 like that can play defense, that can go down in the low block and can step out and hit shots, that just makes us a lot better team. So, I mean, it's just great to see how confidently she's playing right now, and that just really helps us, especially with Mackenzie out.
And then it really, at times last night, you just essentially played with, at times, 4 guards. Sometimes Grace Wagner was on the floor. Sometimes it was Caitlin Peterson, and then Allie and Nikki. You play a little smaller, but yet you tend to have better ball handling. And Nikki is so active defensively that I'm not sure you lose a whole lot by going small. And maybe, how Nikki and Allie can impact the game from what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, anytime you have someone like Nikki that is really good pressuring the ball full court, half the time the teams can't even get it past half court. And then really once they do, they're kind of out of rhythm. The shot clock might be low. They might not be able to get into their action. So, Nikki's definitely the head of the snake on our defense and really sets the tone there. And then I think playing 4 guards, and then you have Alexa who's very guard-like for a post player. That just, we can switch ball screens more. We can play a little more aggressively defensively. And then obviously offensively, that creates a lot of problems for other teams that have to figure out how to guard really 5 guards that can shoot it from the outside, that can drive, that can make plays for other, and obviously go down in the low block and score as well. So I think really it just creates mismatches in a positive way for us on both ends.
Support for the Grace Berger Show is brought to you by our friends at Home Field Apparel, where they have one of the most extensive collections of vintage IU apparel that you will find anywhere. And it's not just IU apparel. They have over 100 colleges and universities, and what they do is they go back into history and they pull out old vintage brand marks that haven't been used in a long time, but that still look really cool and that have this really great kind of nostalgic appeal, and they pull them into modern day, and they've created such a great niche because, the actual material that their stuff is printed on, the shirts, the crew neck sweaters, the hoodies, it's really comfortable, it holds up when it's washed, and then the logos all look just so cool. It's just such a unique niche that they have. And you can go to homefieldapparel.com. Again, look through over 40 items of IU apparel. IU is their original school, and so that's what they have the most of. But you can also browse through all of their other colleges and universities as well. And when you're ready to purchase, if it's your first time there, use the promo code HOME, HOME. That will give you 15% off your first order. So again, it's homefieldapparel.com. Use the promo code HOME, HOME, for 15% off your first order. Now back to the show.
Get out of there with an 80 to 70 win. For the most part now, you're going to kind of start back through the Big Ten. I think there's still a couple teams here you'll play only once, but you have Purdue coming up. What do you expect out of that game on Sunday? And I don't think we'll get this uploaded until after the weekend because just with everything going on, the men have a game tomorrow, and I know the guys are with the AC radio side are doing some stuff with them. But so what do you kind of expect from them since you've seen them, and maybe it might be different, or you may be able to, without giving anything away, change up for them?
Well, I mean, I think first and foremost, they're going to be really excited to come back in and play us. Not only because it's a rivalry game, but obviously just a couple weeks ago, we kind of were able to steal one up at their place that they were winning for a lot of the game. And we were just able to make a few more plays down the stretch. So I think, I mean, they're a dangerous team. They can hit shots from the outside, just like Minnesota last night. So we know that they're capable of being hot, and they have a lot of really good players. And a rivalry game, anything can happen. It just means a little bit more. So our game plan is obviously similar as it was last time. I mean, they have the same personnel. We do too. But I think, there's a couple things that maybe we'll change up that didn't work for us last game, and hopefully we can just have a better turnout.
And then you'll have Illinois coming up, but a game that maybe some of our fans who maybe by the time they hear this will know it, but as we're recording, maybe some of our fans don't know, the Michigan State game has been rescheduled for the 12th. And so that's a game you're going to get made back up. As we mentioned at the beginning, I think, or maybe we were off air talk before we started talking, if I'm doing my math right, I think 6 games in about 15 days. With that, I mean, we've talked a little bit. Coach does a very good job of giving you guys some time off, but also being able to make sure the game plan is taken care of. Have you had a similar stretch like this? I'll start like that. Have you ever, in your time at Indiana, have you had a similar stretch with this many games in such a short time?
I mean, I wouldn't say that. Normally it's a more consistent schedule than it has been this year, because obviously COVID's messing up so much, not only with our team and not only with the Big Ten Conference, but everywhere across the country. So it's definitely unlike anything we've ever experienced before. But at the end of the day, we're just excited to be able to play these games. I'm very grateful that they're able to be made up. So if we have to play, this many games in so many days, I mean, we're just grateful for the opportunity to go on the court and play no matter, how many games it is per week. We're just excited for the opportunity.
Well, and one thing, if I'm looking at right, at least most of this stretch, not all, but most of the stretch is at home. So that at least gives you a little bit of comfort being able to be in your own apartments and playing on your own floor.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I think, with having that many games and that many days, travel is something that really comes into play and makes it that much harder. So anytime we can play in front of our, own crowd, like you said, sleeping in our own beds, I think that just, gives us a little bit more of an advantage.
And then toward the end of that stretch, you'll have a rematch with Nebraska and Lincoln, and then you'll get Northwestern kind of to finish that stretch up. Northwestern will come to town to Bloomington. So yeah, a tough stretch of games, not any real easy opponents on there. I know Illinois is maybe toward the bottom of the league, but as you were talking earlier, really can't overlook anybody in the league.
Right. I mean, the Big Ten is one of the best conferences in the country. And all of these players are playing, Division I Big Ten basketball for a reason. So on any given night, no matter what the record is, they can come out and beat you. So, we're a veteran team. We know that. We've experienced that. So we treat everybody with the same amount of respect, for sure.
So kind of wrap this up a little bit, but just kind of also back to where we're talking again. So now you guys have come out of the COVID. Are you now able to get in? Like, could you go in? I know you mentioned before in episodes, you and Allie a lot of times are at Cook Hall together. Do you go in more on individual now, or can you get back with some of your smaller groups like you and Allie going in and doing workouts together?
Yeah, everything since we've been back for the most part is the same as it has been all year. Just in terms of us getting in extra, me and Allie shoot together every day, and then other people have small groups and individual shooting that they do outside of practice for 20, 30 minutes. And then obviously we have a practice block every day, lift weights, all that. So it's gotten back, to our normal routine, which has been nice.
Good. That's kind of what I was wondering a little bit, just because you got a couple of days, you're off today, you're off Saturday, and then you'll play on Sunday. So I didn't know how that was quite, I don't want to assume anything, because I have not had to deal with the COVID like you guys have. Even though you didn't have any cases last year, you were still dealing with some of those issues. Right. So I didn't know how that is, where you were in terms of with everybody now being back and such. So I do have one question for you. And this comes, and I know it's not an Ask Me Anything, but this one actually came in late from our last episode, and I didn't get a chance to get it, or I missed it and didn't see it until after we recorded the episode. This comes from Sean, but it's actually from his daughter, Nadia, who's a 10-year-old, and she's playing in her first full basketball league this year. And they saw you guys up in Madison against Wisconsin. And this is from Nadia. Dear Grace, I've seen you play and I'm a big fan of you. Whenever I see you play, I see you have a pink headband in that never slips off. Could you tell me what kind of headband that is? Sincerely, Nadia, and P.S. You're a really good player.
Oh, well, thank you. So I've been doing this since high school, and a lot of soccer players actually do it. So it's pre-wrap. So what normally you put underneath tape and stuff, I just go to Dick's Sporting Goods or Walmart or whatever and buy it. It's supposed to be red, but it's probably a little more pink. So I might be breaking a rule there, but and then I just stack two pieces on top of each other and wrap it around, tie it around my neck, and then just pull it up on my head. So maybe I can give her a tutorial if she ever comes to a game next time and kind of show her how it's done. But yeah, that's how I do it.
And did many of your teammates in high school do that?
Yeah, it was a big thing in high school, and now I'm kind of the only one that does it. So I kind of stand out with that on my head for sure. Yeah,
because when she asked that, I was kind of like, I started I'd seen you wear it, but I've been so used to it as a coach, because my high school kids did the same. My high school players did the same thing. They would much rather had pre-wrap than they would have almost a headband. And now you kind of see more of the kids with the headband. So are there rules about, like, does the headband have to match like color uniform or something like that?
So I think as long as our headbands are all the same color, so a lot of the girls on the team kind of wear the wraparound headbands, that are a little different than mine. So as long as they're the same color, I think, that's fine. Mine's supposed to be red, and every other girl on our team wears red ones. So I think the refs kind of let it slide.
Well, I always thought rather than going to Dick's, you could snag some out of the trainer's room, because that's kind of where my players always used to go, is go to the trainer's room and grab some pre-wrap. But I thought that was an interesting question from Nadia, that, because obviously maybe aren't very many kids at the high school level doing it anymore. I haven't been paying attention in sectional time. So we want to wish you the best of luck this weekend with Purdue and the upcoming schedule. Hopefully we'll get to talk again soon. Anything else you'd like to add before we wrap up here tonight?
No, I just want to keep thanking everyone for support. Obviously, it's been a long time since we've been able to play in Assembly Hall in front of fans. And so we've really missed that. And we're really excited to get back on Sunday and these upcoming weeks with everyone in the crowd and the best fans in the country cheering us on and giving us that extra energy that we need. So we just keep thanking everyone and keep encouraging us during this tough stretch that we have coming up.
Yeah, and I think the fans are definitely looking forward to you guys being back and playing, and I know we can't, you can't say anything, but everybody's kind of excited, thinking maybe Mac will be back soon. Coach Moore seemed to hint last night that she was a little bit ahead of schedule, so I know everybody's hoping she'll be back as well soon, and they're looking forward to watching you guys play. So, Grace, appreciate you taking some time with us tonight on a busy Friday night. I'm sure as a college student, there's things going on that, well, maybe after the COVID issues, maybe you guys aren't supposed to be out doing anything, but I know it's a Friday night, so I appreciate you giving me your time.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for doing this.
And that will do it for this episode of the Grace Berger Show on Assembly Call on the Back Home Network. For Grace Berger, I'm Jeff Marlow. Until we talk again, remember, go Hoosiers.